Hello, welcome to the Healthy Alternatives podcast. I am Dr. Christine Sauer with DocChristine.com. Today's show is a recording of my radio show of the same name. Enjoy! Hello, good afternoon. This is Dr. Christine Sauer, your host of the show Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE FM with live stream on communityradio.ca every Thursday at 12 noon Atlantic Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in today. In this show, I will talk mostly with guests about all aspects of health, healthcare and wellness, from conventional to alternative and everything in between. My mission for this radio show is to help change people's lives for the better by informing them about different options to get and stay healthy and well so they can choose for themselves which option might work in their case. And if you feel you are stuck in a dark place, I want to tell you, don't give up. There's a light at the end of the tunnel for you too. Today, I'm extremely pleased to have my friend Brian Murray again on the show. We did a former story about his inspirational experience with weight loss and being your own researcher. But for those that don't know Brian Murray, he is a longtime grass-fed beef and certified free-range chicken producer. And he's a community and provincial activist who was part of starting an association in the Hammonds Plains area, which is a suburb of Halifax, as well as provincial associations pertaining to agriculture. And he works as an advocate for many community groups with presentations, media involvement, and he even had a radio show of his own, Hammonds Plains Speaks with Brian Murray. And on top of it all, he is an amazing person, good friend, avid researcher, and I'm happy to have you today, Brian.
Great to be able to talk with you. Always interesting, Christine.
It's always interesting to have guests on the show that are truly inspirational and do things that matter.
Oh, well, stop the compliments. I'm just another person.
Well, we all are in some way. And as my husband always said, we all eat the same and we all S the same. I won't use the word. And it's so true.
Yes.
No matter what the color of your skin or whatever, your size, whatever, it doesn't matter.
We just work well together. We talk once in a while and we just communicate well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know from experience, you helped us with our backyard chickens. You're very knowledgeable, of course, about agriculture, beef and chicken. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to have a farm that raises grass-fed beef, well, cows and steers or whatever, and has a pastured or free-range chickens.
Well, it was an evolution from the days of my father-in-law, who was retiring from the business, and the farm's been in my wife's family since 1870, so it's almost 150 years now. And we decided that we were going to try and raise animals for our consumption, with the idea that people would agree with what we do and buy the product. And if they didn't, well, I guess that's the way it is, because we're going to do what we want to do. So we started, we evolved to grass-fed beef. We found that it's a healthier product. It just has, we have a closer ratio now of omega-3 and omega-6. It's somewhere between 1-to-1 and 3-to-1, because we do get way too much omega-6. Mm-hmm. We have... And
you probably know exactly how the ratio is for conventionally grain-fed beef.
Yeah, it's
about 20 to 1,
It's 20, 25 to 1, exactly,
that
depending on the animal.
Way too much and very unhealthy and pro-inflammatory.
Way too unhealthy. So you end up with a product that is healthier. It actually tastes better. Mm-hmm. It has more flavor to it. People don't realize when you feed grain to ruminants that it actually takes away the flavor from the beef. So we have people buy our ground beef and they say, oh, geez, I can't believe how well it tastes. plus the benefits that you get because it's a healthy product. But there's also more to it than that. There's people that like the way the animals are looked after, the way they're raised on the farm, the way they're processed. They're not abused. They always have feed in front of them. They go to the processor, and in Nova Scotia it's provincially inspected, and they're done one-on-one. They're not hurting all these animals through altogether.
They're not stressing them out completely. When you eat animal products, you always have to make a choice. And you know that animal products were part of our history for eons of years, for millions of years. But really, humans never concentrated animals the way we do today.
No, the feedlots and the high concentrations, the antibiotics that have to be given to them as preventive maintenance, not as a cure, but as a preventive maintenance, which is just causing all kinds of issues. Plus, by feeding cattle just hay leach or grass, you do not have to grow grains and fertilize it and cultivate the lands.
And spray glyphosate on it.
There's all kinds of things that it's better for the environment by doing this. It's better for the animals, better for the people consuming it. And what we don't have to worry about is having a lot of competition from big corporations, because it takes longer to raise them and they can't make as much money off of it. In North America, it's called how can we raise it? How quick can we raise it? How much more money can we make? Not about the quality, it's all about the money.
And really, it's not about animal welfare or people welfare. It's just about profit. And I disagree with that. I don't think it's the right way to do business and go about our own health.
We are not getting it's not being led by the government for a healthy lifestyle. It's being pushed to have agriculture for the money-making aspect, and they're actually producing products that aren't necessarily healthy. So that's the beef. But now the chickens is the same. Now, when they raise commercial chickens, they are fed antibiotics basically from day one until a very short period of time until they're processed. The reason they have to do this is because they have large quantities of chickens in a small area, and they can't afford for them to get sick. So they have to make sure that they don't get sick by giving them antibiotics, and this has caused us major grief. This is why we're running out of antibiotics for curing people.
70% of the antibiotics produced is used for animals, for feed and to treat the infections that they then have.
Oh, it's a big problem.
Yes,
and nobody wants to really talk about that issue. But if you raise a smaller quantity in a bigger area, and having certified free-range chickens as we do, the regulations say they have to be government inspected, they have to be able to go outdoors, and they can't be fed antibiotics or animal byproducts, which is a big deal. People just don't realize this, and if you have less chickens, you will have less issues. We don't really ever run into problems of all these chickens dying off because we have too many of them in such a small area.
Yeah, and I want to share a little story about us, because when I met you, you helped us with our chickens, because a few years ago, 4 or 5, on Facebook, you saw those awful stories about the chickens, how they get slaughtered, putting their life in the water. And at that point, I had to decide for myself, do I want to be a vegetarian and not eat meat, which is not natural for humans, in my opinion, or do I want to choose to eat animals that are at least treated as animal or humane, like as they can, and not tortured? And having our own backyard chickens, and you giving us a few valuable tips, and I thank you for that, really changed my idea about a chicken and what it should be, and how it should taste, and how an egg should look, and how it should taste. I learned a lot of interesting things. And it's sad that so many people are so far removed from the origin of their food.
Yes, I did a presentation at the Historical Society a couple of years ago on farming. And it basically was the evolution of farming in the Hammonds Plains area.
Yes.
After the Second World War, what happened was they basically people, there was automobiles and there was people who could drive to the city, and all of a sudden they weren't quite as interested in growing their own food or raising their own livestock, and they started buying it from local farmers. That progressed into the grocery stores, and it's just progressed further and further in that direction. So we get removed from it, and that's what's happened. Luckily, in the last 10 to 15 years, we have been going back to, some people have been going back to more traditional forms.
And that movement really, in my opinion, and I know it's the same as you, should be supported more by the government. But I think this removal from the food production from the supermarkets leads to people accepting methods of food production that are way less than healthy.
They don't realize.
No.
It's a sanitized version you're getting in the store. People don't even know where that steak came from.
No, they have no idea. And I get questions like, you probably laugh about that too all the time, that people buying eggs say, oh, how do you get eggs when you don't have a rooster?
Yes, exactly.
And I mean, don't they get told that people produce eggs without a rooster? That's what I tell them.
There will probably be people listening to this show and saying, you don't need a rooster?
And I mean, it's not your fault that you don't know it, but it should be taught in the schools instead of high-class algebra that they might need in university or may never need in a life.
Yes, I agree.
And there's a lot that can be done, and I know we both do our share to change a little bit what we can do, and it's one life at a time. That's what we always do. And this brings us to the end of the first half of today's broadcast here on 97.5 CIOE FM Community Radio. Please tune in after the commercial break for more about healthily and humanely produced meat and chicken and grass-fed beef with Brian Murray. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE FM and on the web at communityradio.ca. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer, and today I'm talking with Brian Murray, farmer here locally who does grass-fed beef and free-range chickens, and is a community activist also and very knowledgeable as a researcher. The first half, we talked a little bit about the benefits of grass-fed beef and why it is different from conventionally raised beef. And part of it was the omega-3 to 6 ratio that is so much better with grass-fed beef. So actually, when you eat grass-fed beef, and you can confirm it, you can eat the fat of the meat.
Correct. You're actually eating something that is actually healthy for you.
That's right.
As opposed to something that is...
And I always say, instead of using palm olive for frying, use tallow from grass-fed beef or lard from pastured pigs. It's way better than all those processed fats that we are using.
If we only could produce grass-fed butter. We have so many people looking for grass-fed butter.
Yes, we can get it. The organic butter has to be from grass-fed cows, but it is extremely expensive.
Extremely expensive.
And that is a government thing. And So I use a lot of coconut oil. It's cheaper and it's good too if it's a good quality. And avocado oil, I don't use the vegetable oils too much, especially not those bleached and treated with hexane and other solvents.
Yeah, the vegetable oils are just not good. They've finally come to the conclusion.
And people don't know it, but the vegetable oils really are rancid. But the rancid tastes get taken away by chemical treatment.
Yeah.
Can't be good for you to use it.
No.
Yeah,
not at all.
There's a lot going on, and I love that you, for yourself, made the decision to raise healthy, grass-fed beef. And many people don't know it, but in regular animal feed, nearly everywhere in the concentrated animal feed operations are antibiotics.
Yeah, growth promoting antibiotics are very common. It's just a way. It's as I've said so many times, and I've said already that it's North American way. It's called how much money can we make in such a short a period of time, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the product or with the health benefits of the product. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be looking out for yourself. And I try, as it said, talk to one person at a time. Yeah. People come in and we'll have a conversation. I'll be talking for a half hour about what I do and how we do it and why we do it. And people are just amazed that they can find this information out, and they didn't have no idea how unhealthy some of these other products are.
Right, because nobody tells them, because it's not opportune. And I understand that, but there's some room for change. And I see the young generation we talked about a little bit in the break, they are getting more and more interested in where really comes my food from. Many choose the vegetarian or vegan way, which I respect if you choose that for yourself. But for most people, it's not a healthy way to live long term.
I don't disagree with that statement at all, and I agree. If you want to eat vegan, hey, that's great. All the power to you. To me, you don't have to eat meats 5 days a week or 6 days a week like we did when we were growing up. It was almost meat every night.
Many people still do that, meat and potatoes.
I agree, and I don't agree with the potatoes every night either. But that's a different topic.
And as a vegetable, what do you eat? Corn.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's the starches, it's the glucose, it's on and on. Wait, but that's, I said, that's a little off of this topic. But we just have to get back to thinking more natural. And a lot of the younger generation today are doing that. They are paying attention. There's a lot of young people who actually want to start farms. And they're just thinking of the more natural way of doing it and looking out for the health of their kids.
Wonderful.
They're young families, and they don't want to feed their kids the products that they have been feeding. So the best thing you can do, in my mind, is to talk to a local farmer. Buy from a local farmer, somebody who is actually raising the product themselves, and you can see their farm and see what they are doing.
If you can go to the farm and visit it and see how the animals are kept, and try to do that with a commercial farm operation, they probably won't even let you in it.
Well, and you have to be careful when you get third parties involved. Because when people are reselling the product, you don't necessarily have that connection with the farmer, and you don't really know exactly what you're getting. The best way is to actually connect directly with the producer, to actually find out what they do and how they do it and why it's of benefit to you.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And it is also an animal rights thing, because animals are meant to roam. They're not like people, but they have a thinking mind and they have feelings. And if you hurt them or mistreat them, I don't think they are happy. And there's no reason to mistreat animals in our time.
Cows are a lot smarter than people realize they are. They're a pretty docile animal. There was many years ago, we used to feed some grain to our cattle before we switched over to grass-fed. We had a white bucket. You'd have some grain into it. You'd hit the side of the bucket. The cattle would come because they know, oh, geez, it's grain. I'm getting the grain. Yes. So we quit doing that. And at least this was many years ago. And when we quit doing that, we had the cattle way down the way back field. And I said, I wonder if I can get those cattle to come up here with the bucket. So I took the bucket out, and I held the bucket up, and I started rapping on the bucket. Well, the cows that had been there for 10 or 12 years, they looked up, they seen that bucket, and they all started moving up the field. And you'd almost look at the other cows were looking at them.
What are they doing?
What are you doing? Why is he's rapping on this bucket? Why are you going up to this bucket? So they remembered, and this might have been, maybe 8 or 10 years after they had ever had any grain. And it just amazes me that what a memory that they have. And they have individual personalities,
you have stories to tell. Yes, they do.
Oh, there's stories, the farming stories. It's
everybody should talk to a farmer and actually look at the animals and talk to them about it. It's the same with our backyard chickens. I learned so much about them. I never knew that chicken feet are soft. And the people don't know that, and they don't like to stand on a thin wire all their life. I'm pretty sure they're not happy when they can scratch and pick and flutter their wings.
It's a good thing. What I always say is every animal that I look after is one animal less that is being abused in a large-scale farm.
Yes.
So that's just my way of doing it. That's my way of feeling good about what I'm doing. Plus, I get the benefits of actually eating our product. So I'm quite happy about that too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And knowing your story, and you shared it in a previous section, you actually lost a lot of weight too, and you just look amazing and are a great person. And everybody that knows you will feel the same, I think. And yes, there's people that have different philosophies, and we respect that. And sometimes I don't respect that there are people that choose to eat animals and animal products, and that's a little bit off topic.
Well, sort of. I respect people that do not want to eat animals, and you would think that people would respect people that do. It's just what you should be doing. But that's fine. Everybody has their own opinions, and they can do what they like. And I hold nothing against anybody for any of those reasons.
I do the same. But sometimes people are fanatic, and there's actually a disease that's called orthorexia, which is kind of like anorexia nervosa, which makes people stress out over only eating the best foods and over only eating the healthy food. And they stress out so much that they get sick from the stress.
I don't have that problem.
No, I'm sure you don't.
My problem, I always said my problem was I would eat the best of foods that were available, meaning our own foods, and I would eat the worst of foods that were available. And that's why I had to lose the weight. It was a whole lifestyle change. Yeah. If I had only ate the good foods, I probably would never have been in the position that I was in.
And that's a wonderful end for this show. It is so important to watch for the food quality over the quantity. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions, or if you want to contact Brian. He's boss of Blue Barn Farms here in Hammonds Plains if you're local. My email here is christines@communityradio.ca, and I'm always grateful for any feedback. I also want to extend a special thank you to today's producer, Seth Glasgow. And you might not know this, but this is a volunteer-run non-profit radio station, and we even have an art gallery and performance hall. If you're local and you'd like to drop in, we are at 11 Glendale Avenue, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Thank you all for listening to Healthy Alternatives. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer. Tune in next Thursday at 12 noon on 97.5 CIOE FM Community Radio with live stream on communityradio.ca. Goodbye and have a great day.